All right, we're going to go ahead and get started this morning with the council meeting. So first we're going to stand for the pledge. Brad will lead us and Preston will pray for us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Bow our heads, please. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we do thank you for this day and for your blessings. And Father, now just go with us as we go into this council meeting. Heavenly Father, just open our minds and help us to just do what's best for the county. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. We called this meeting this morning. We need to go over some things here on our budget request and try to narrow some of these items down so that we can get this budget presented to the state by October the, 5th or the 6th, Michelle? 6th. So wanted to have those discussions this morning, and then we'll hopefully help us get to a point where we're ready to present that to the state. I guess first off, John, do you want to come up from the park? There were some questions there that John had, and we had one employee that he wanted.
Oh, good morning.
Morning.
Well, I come in here about a week or so back, and evidently I didn't have all my numbers straight, so we'll try this once again. The reason I'm here is over Cindy Rainbow, just trying to get her a little more money up to snuff, get her up there where just like Tim, he's at $20.40 an hour. Cindy's at $18.88. I just kind of like get them two a little bit more even. I'm not here to increase my budget whatsoever. If anything, it's going to decrease it from what you guys had for 2026. I'd like to stay at $366,460. I'm going to be taking money from the gatehouse money, which is at $45,000 right now. I'd like to put Cindy up there to $42,000, and that will lower my gatehouse down to $42,568 with no additional appropriations here or no extra on my budgets.
Does everybody understand? If you've got your book, it's on page 6. Basically, that's the park secretary that he's going to bump up and then decrease the gate. So it's basically a wash. So that's what John is requesting this morning. So I think we'll probably, can we go ahead and vote to do that? No, we have to wait until the next meeting to actually approve that, but this would be the first reading of that change if the council so desires. So
You want to take her to 42?
Yeah. Right now, she's at, after the 4%, she'd been at $40,838, so I'm not raising this very much, $1,100.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
You know, and before, just like on the park secretary, if I ran under right there, I've always just took from another line item, like from the gatehouse itself. I guess that's where we kind of got mixed up here, and I've always stole from another line item to pay, just the same thing as I do on my groundskeeping, so.
just a lateral move, basically.
Right, yeah.
What did you say the gate would go to on that then, John?
The gate it should be right around $42,568 on the gatehouse. That will lower that number from $45,000 to $42,568. And I think that should put her up right around 2014 or 2019 an hour.
What John's requested there. Has anybody got any more questions about that? So basically his bottom line budget will stay the same. All right, well, when we have our next meeting, then this will all be voted on and we'll pass it through.
Do I need to be present?
You would not have to be here. We know what the numbers are now. We just wanted to bring you in to get those numbers and
Right.
know what we were dealing with as far as the budget goes. So, no, you would not have to be here.
Okay.
Okay, but we'll definitely put that on the agenda. That'll be one of the things on there, so. All
Okay.
right, if there's no further questions for John, then this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All have a good day.
Okay. Fender, Ryan?
Thank you, Councilman, for having me. This is about my amended request for 2026 to increase the legal secretaries to 43,000, make them both even. It's a difference from my last request of about $5,390. And that's it. That's the main request. So we had the handout from last month, earlier this month. And we have another copy of that if you guys want it to look at. Thank you.
I've got that.
I already have it.
This is corrected because of what was sent to us from the auditor's office to correct it to that.
Thank you. He'd asked for a vote. Would we vote on this since I asked
For
for it?
2026?
For 26, or would this
No,
just
they'll
be the
do that
25?
October 6th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do that at the October meeting.
So then, today then, I would ask for the vote for the 25 to finish out the last 6 or 7
They
meetings?
cannot vote on anything today.
Okay. Oh, no vote at all?
No vote at all.
Okay. So it's just bringing up to 56,000, 43,000 for the other two and three, and it makes everybody even.
Question for Ryan on that. What you've got there on the paper shows 2026, his request, but he also wants to move forward with that for 2025, the remainder of 2025. So, two separate requests there. So if you have any questions about that, you need to ask them now. And then, like I said before, it'll be the October meeting before we'll be able to vote for that. So just wanted to go over everything, make sure everybody's on the same page. Any questions for Ryan about that request?
And again, I do want to say that $5,390, that difference gets reimbursed. So even out of county money, that'll only be 60% of that. 40% gets reimbursed of that from the state. So relatively small bump up. All right. Thank y'all. We appreciate you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Let's see here. Well, Stephanie, did you want to come forward?
Okay, I'm here for the general election stipend. Apparently, there was confusion on that. It's a general election stipend that was presented in July of 2024. The law went into effect July 1st of 2024 and was brought to all the clerks across the state as attention from State Board of Accounts and the Indiana Election Division. So it pertained to those counties that do not have a voter registration board. So legislators added to that code, and so that IC code is 3-7-12-22. So our county does not have a separate voter registration board. So those duties fall upon myself. And so they had added a B section to that state statute that your fiscal body could give a stipend to the clerk up to $2,500, and that's for general elections. And so the recorded meeting for July of 2024 and the August meeting and the minutes reflect, are correct, but the salary ordinance says general presidential elections, which in the state of Indiana, under IC Code 3-5-1-2, there's only 5 types of elections in the state of Indiana that they recognize, one being the general election, a municipal election, a primary election, a school district election, and a special election. So a presidential, what we've coined that term, is part of that general election category under that state statute. But there's, under state law, there's not a labeled presidential election. So you all had voted on, Councilman Fleming went ahead and matched it for $2,000. And so I look at it as a clerical, human error that it was labeled a presidential. This stipend does not get paid on off election years, nor does it get paid for a municipal election, which the only one we have in this county is the city of Salem. So it's just general elections only. But on the budget line item, it's labeled as presidential. And on my presentation, 45 seconds into that meeting on budget hearing part 2, and when I turned in my budget, I made notation that the general election stipend had to be brought back in to play because we have election in 2026.
Questions for Stephanie on that? Shed some light. I did have our attorney look into that just to make sure. And what Alyssa had give to me, says that there's nothing prohibiting the council from awarding that in every election, but it doesn't say. The way we did the approval of it was for a presidential election. So she said that was okay. She didn't see anything that said that you had to do the stipend on anything other than the presidential election years. So we may need to have her look at that again too before decision. But that is what she had found under that when I asked her to take a look at it. So
I would recommend
And it
that you take a look at it again.
Yeah, and it was tabled from July 24 meeting to August because she reviewed it and gave her opinion then. I did review the email that was forwarded to me, and to me it appears that she thought it was something new. But this is something that she gave her opinion on back in July to August meeting, and she presented her opinion in August of 2024. Because under state statute, there's not a presidential election as part of the general category. And so that's what the state statute that they added was for general elections.
This information that Bubba requested is her second review of that, so we can have that reviewed again. So just, it's different from her first initial review of that, just to be transparent, everybody know what that is, so.
Stephanie, what's this money go for?
I'm sorry.
What, the stipend, what is it, what does it cover on your guys' end? What's it help cover?
Well, it's a stipend for the circuit court clerk, myself. It's a stipend because legislative bodies and the Clerks Association, when they were presented in session, it was because the beast now of general elections, what they have became. And so it's a stipend to go above if your county, it only comes into play if your county does not have a voter registration board. So like currently, we have a county election board. So those counties that have voter registration boards, they usually match their salary, what they pay the county election board. The county election board gets paid on off election years and election years, and it's $6,000 a year. So if we want to implement a voter registration board in our county, most of the time you're going to match that, so that would be a $6,000 every year, every election. So it's kind of, you know, what do you want to do? I mean, because I will tell you how elections and what we see on the national level, Washington County is not exempt from that. I mean, elections, just since I started, this is my 12th election, back in March of 2018, when I started with the county, it has progressively gotten worse. And if you think that Washington County is like Mayberry, and we don't have, you know, all what I call passionate voters, you're wrong. I mean, it's nonstop, and basically there's two of us, and then I have to pull my girls on the court side over to help. So basically, it's myself and another deputy that run the elections and voter services. So I mean, during election time, it's long hours.
Sure.
And so they recognize that since clerks are on salaries.
Thank you.
Have our review again, and then likewise, it'll be the October meeting before we would.
Okay. So basically, you ought to be voting on, because I looked at it as a clerical error, and I did not receive that ordinance when it was written, so I didn't realize. So I was just looking on the budget and kept that it's general. The way it was headed, it wasn't, the IC code's not for presidential elections.
I think the way that we approved it before was just for presidential elections. But that'll be what we'll need.
Yeah, I think where the confusion came in, that there was a presidential election on the horizon, because the recorded meeting and the minutes do not reflect
Right.
a presidential only stipend.
So that's what
Thank
we
you.
would need to determine, but we'll have her check again, and then we'll make that decision at the October.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Kelly, you guys. Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, gentlemen, ladies, how are you today? There you are, sir. Michelle. Ms. Kaiser, good morning. Mr. Gill.
Thank you, sir. Morning.
Start. We were looking at the proposed budget that was sent to us here a couple of weeks ago, and I was looking at the proposed 6% raise that was looking to be given for dispatch. One way of thought, and I understand looking at it through the county's eyes, a 6% raise and the elimination of overtime, that looks really good on paper. But that thought process is linear, and it doesn't really affect, if you look at it from 30,000 feet up, it doesn't affect the people who are involved in this as well, specifically the dispatchers. If the 6% is awarded under the agreement that overtime is going to be eliminated, my dispatchers are going to be taking a pay cut. this authorization for them to have 4 hours of overtime that was included into their schedule since back in the Claude Combs era. That is well documented and it's been that way. It was never codified. It was never put into the salary ordinance or the handbook or anything like that. It's just something that's gone there. This is something that I've had conversations with the sheriff and individuals, people on the board. I saw this as a problem at the very beginning, and I've been working to try to change that. And I've been doing my due diligence. But breaking down the numbers, if you look at it, the dispatcher will be taking a pay cut. Right now, at 6%, the amount of money that they get right now with the 4 hours of overtime, it's comes out to about $40,398. Okay. With the proposed raise, the dispatchers are going to be losing about $600 a year, and my shift leads are going to be losing about $700 a year. Even if you increase that raise to a 7%, dispatchers are still going to be losing a couple $100 a year, and the leads are going to be losing about $300 a year. That sounds nominal in the grand scheme of things and everything, but you know, these are people that, you know, they have to put food on their family's table and they're working, and you're asking them to continue on working for the county at a decrease in pay overall, right? If you take away the overtime. If we're going to make this even out, then the raise needs to be commensurate to where at least they're not losing money. Couple that with the fact that employee contributions have increased significantly. If they don't get the funds that they need to at least break even, they're working, basically, they're paying to work here. All right, it's not fair. No other department in the county got a decrease in pay. This is recommended for a decrease in pay. All right, and if you break down the numbers and if you look at it and you take it to where you put all that stuff aside, 911 is operating $583 in the red with a 6% for the dispatchers, $677.08 in the red for the shift leads. They see this, people aren't, they see what's coming, and I just lost my senior dispatcher, my most experienced dispatcher, because of pay and because of stress for the job, right? She saw the writing on the wall, or she's seeing it, and we're talking about retention. I know that's been a big issue that we've talked about in several of our meetings and everything. If retention, reducing pay is not a good retention tool. It's actually going to lead to an exodus as opposed to drawing people in, getting them training, getting them to stay here. On paper, it looks really good because you're going to give them a 6% raise. It's not a 6% raise. It's only on paper. If you look at how it affects them overall, they're losing money to work for this county. I would recommend, I gave on the second page here, I've got it broken down to a 6% raise, a 7% raise, and if you were to give them an 8% raise, that puts them in the black, $224 for dispatchers and only $145 for shift leads annual. All right, and if you break that down to a percentage of what everyone else is getting across the board, it's less than 1% of a raise that they're going to be getting. All right, just for them to break even, it's going to have to be at an 8%. All right, couple that into, again, with the increase that they're having to pay for insurance. It's actually still not breaking even. They're still going to lose money on that, right? I'm trying to get people here. I'm trying to get people retained. I'm trying to get people to man our dispatch centers so we can serve our community. And I can't do that. We can't do that if we're going to be taking money away from them. The hours that they work right now are long enough. I'm doing everything that I can, and I've been working on this for months, and I've spoken to Ms. Kyra ad nauseum about it, and I've spoken to Cheryl about it, and even Ms. Michelle about it, and I'm still working on coming up with a plan that's going to be legal and something that's going to benefit everybody, and that will eliminate overtime. But 6% is it won't do, gentlemen and ladies. Just putting it out there, it's not going to be enough for them to sustain, and it's not going to be enough for us to sustain our workforce for the county, for the sheriff's department, for 911. I would ask that you would look at that and please come up with a number that is going to be I don't even want to say beneficial, but that's going to ease the pain and ease the tension for the dispatchers, because they know, they see, they watch, they've been watching the hearings and everything, and they're kind of seeing which direction this is going. I don't want to lose people. It's hard enough. I've got open positions right now, and I can't keep them, and I just lost another one because I see things like this happening. Our pay needs to be where we can sustain people, where we can retain people, and this is just the opposite of what our intended purpose is.
Well, I don't think that we can do away with overtime fully, because we might chip away at it over the years, you know, and try to get it down and get this percentage up there. But I think that we need to look at it a little closer, because retention is anything in the budget, you know, and 911 and the sheriff and ambulance, and we have to have those types of people. And I've heard comments, you know, that they knew what the job was they taken, but it takes a special kind of person to do these jobs. You know, they can't just throw anybody in there and expect them to do these jobs. But some people think you can, but you can't, because I've been there.
Mr. Shell, you made a very good point. I mean, yeah, and that's on the premise, because with the amount of people that we have, or the amount of positions that we have open right now, we still have to train them. And the people who are going to be training them is going to be myself and my 2 shift leads, right? And until we get everyone full, there's going to be overtime that's going to be incurred, because I have empty seats, right? And if they're going to be training, that's going to be taking two people out of my work rotation who would normally be sitting in the chair to cover people right now, and that's going to be covered by me, right? So I'm the only one, myself and Denny Stempowski, she works there part-time as a dispatcher, and if people call in sick, if they're on vacations or whatever, you know, they're entitled to take to use their benefits, and someone has to man those seats, right? So I have 2 choices. I can either institute mandatory overtime to have one of my dispatchers come in and fill that seat, and we're paying them at time and a half, or I can do it and I'm on salary, so it's not costing the county any money that way. And I noticed that, and I know that, and that's part of my job, and I'm willing to do that, right? To do my part to save what little bit of overtime, you know, for the county that I can do. But then again, you know, I have a family as well, right? And if as soon as we get people trained, and as soon as we can get them in the chairs, and we can get this ship afloat again, eventually, you know, it will right itself. But right now, these are growing pains, because we have people coming in, we have people leaving, and they see what's going on. There's better opportunities that they see for them that's causing them to leave, whether they go out into the private sector or whether they're transferring to other departments that pay more money. They have to feed their families as well. And we can't do that if we're taking money out of their pockets and food off of their table.
And one of the reasons that this was put in place years ago too, is because it is actually cheaper to pay overtime than it is to hire additional full-time people and have to pay for benefits. It's just something that has to be taken into consideration, and we do that kind of the same way back there in the jail. You know, according to the jail staffing analysis, we should have more jailers, but we are getting by with what we have, but we are also working overtime back there in the jail and paying them considerable amount of overtime to cover things versus hiring more full-time people that then you have to pay benefits to. So there are other departments that look at it in the same way, that it's actually cheaper to pay the overtime than it is to hire more full-time people, which is a possibility if you know, if you start cutting out that overtime, then you're going to have to replace, somebody's got to work those hours. And whether it's somebody that's getting paid at straight time or somebody getting paid at time and a half versus paying your benefits at the end of the day.
By definition, you know, dispatcher, everyone in law enforcement, with the sheriff's department, fire, EMS, you know, by definition and by law, we are essential personnel. We're first responders, right? So with that, that means that we have to be in the chair. Those positions have to be manned 24/7, 365, no exceptions, right? And it's hard to do if people are going away because the county that they're working for isn't paying them what they need to be paid to keep the lights on in the house, right? It's tough, I get it. And in that regard, I don't want to say it's a necessary evil, but it is necessary. All right, and they don't make that much money anyway. We're still the third lowest paid dispatch center in every county that touches us, and out of the 10 counties in size or similar in size and population to us, we're the second lowest paid behind, in front of only Jennings County, still, right? And they're getting ready to get raises as well. I don't know what they're going to be, but the way that it's going right now, they're going to keep going forward, and we're going to be actually taking a half a step back if this current budget proposal goes through. It's not fair to them, it's not fair to the county, it's not fair to the citizens.
Thing that I was getting ready to say, I've bounced this off the wall a million times since it come up, and you know, I'm not sure that there's a clear cut answer for it. I mean, we all know that the overtime, you know, when we're sitting here trying to set a budget, it's, you know, it's a big animal for us to handle. But the one thing that I thought about, and this is something that I want the council to think about before we this next meeting next month. I really feel like for now where we're at, because we do know if we take that away, it is going to affect these employees. But my thoughts are, you know, I would like to see a committee formed with a representative from the sheriff, the jailer, the EMS, the public safety, where this overtime is a concern, but that committee with a representative from each of those, and then 3 council members, and start this committee, leave the budget, you know, as presented with the overtime in there, you know, for 26, and then work on this moving forward, because I just don't see an answer, you know, in it until we do more research. You know, this kind of hit quick, and it's hard to make that decision because it's going to affect a lot of things here, and I just don't think we've put enough time in it yet to make that decision. I don't want to be reactive. I would rather be proactive and form this committee and start working on this and see if it's something that we can help, not only, you know, through the overtime, but, you know, through scheduling, that kind of thing, and try to help these guys. You know, they don't want to pay any more overtime than what they have to. You know, Brent and I have talked about this multiple times over the years. You know, they know overtime's a big issue, but they also have to do their job, and they have to be able to retain the employees that they have, and I think that retention is a big thing. And if we cut that, you know, I think we're going to have a problem with retention. So, you know, that's something I would like for the council to consider. You know, to leave it as presented, and then put this committee together and start working on it. See if there's ways, and see if we can contact more counties and see how they're dealing with it as well. I think it was great that we bring it to light, because as Todd mentioned before, it is something that has really jumped up over the years that we've, you know, it's costing the county more and more money to do that. But we also don't want to cut away from our public safety, and that's just my personal feelings on that. So I hope that the council would maybe consider doing something along that line and leaving the budget the way it was. Get this committee together and see if we can work on it going forward.
I think that's a great idea. I think there needs to be a lot more thought process that goes into this. I think everybody can agree that you know, you can't fully cut overtime out of these departments. You know, are there some ways that things could be trimmed down? Sure, I think everybody could probably agree on that. But there needs to be, I think, a lot more thought process that goes into it and consideration before we chip at it.
We'll do our due diligence, but I mean, a comment that you just made, it would actually concern me in the long run, you know, because you were talking about, and I appreciate with the committee, and that's actually a good thing to go, but when you're trying to dictate what schedules that we're going to work, we're fluid, all right? And we don't work for the court system, we don't work for any other government agency where we work Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, weekends and holidays off no matter what. We get called in because of natural disasters, God forbid an active shooter, a really bad accident, hazmat event or type thing like that. So it has to be fluid. So if we set something like that, that's the reason why. I mean, according to our employee handbook, is this gentleman right here, he's the one that approves and sets the schedules for us. All right.
I understand your concerns. I don't think you use the word dictate. The reason I'm saying that is I don't think that would be the goal of this group. It's getting everybody together and you guys helping us find a way. Sadly, you know, we all knew what we were signing up for. Budgets can be difficult.
Sure.
But in this case, I agree with Bubba. I think we need to take our time, talk to you guys, but I just wanted to clarify.
I'm all for that.
Anything, you use the word dictate, and that's not what this would be. This
Establish.
would be us working together.
Okay, how about establish?
We want to work with you all.
Yes, sir, and I get that, which brings up, again, my final point of concern. I mean, if we leave things the way they are right now, right, my overtime's been taken out of my budget, and it was transferred over to the sheriff. All right, and to my understanding that overtime has been taken out of his budget as well. So now, if we keep everything that it is, then I'm going to have to be reallocated the overtime money into our account where we can pay our dispatchers overtime.
Is that what you were saying, was
What
putting
I was
overtime
saying
back in?
we were gonna put it back in.
Everything's going to go, we're resetting everything,
Yes,
right?
that was my, for the original way that it was presented.
In this particular case, I guess I would disagree. I mean, I like his proposal, and from a budgetary standpoint, going forward, you're better to raise a person's salary and get away with this, from this mandatory 4-hour built-in deal that should have never been made. And I'm not mad at anybody, but this is much more clear, this is much more legal, this is much more upfront, and from a budgetary standpoint, going forward, and I am totally for raising these salaries up to where they need to be and cutting that overtime line. I'm totally for that. I mean, that's my opinion. I'm not gonna, if we wanna stick with the overtime, I just think going forward, this would be a much more clear way to go.
Mr. Kelly has got a 12-hour shift that he can propose that would work.
Right.
And we can do that, and then again, that's where the sheriff and I mean, we would manage our employees. I mean, we're the managers. That's what we do. You know, to make sure that we're going to be in compliance. Mr. Armstrong, thank you. I appreciate that, and I've been working on this for a long time. And like I said, I've been talking to my sheriff here many times, and we work together. I've spoken to Ms. Kyra and Ms. Cheryl and Ms. Michelle, even again, to where they're tired of us. Okay, and I know, and this is something that we need to, you know, that we need to go so we can get everyone back on track where we're going to save the county money. It may not cost you anymore, may not save you anymore, but it'll keep it at, for lack of a better word, the status quo for where we're at right now. And I think that this right here is going to be the best option for everyone, and then we're just going to have to manage our employees over time.
And I commend you for doing the work and bringing that offer to us. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
It might cost us a little upfront, but it might work.
Thank you.
I appreciate everybody's input today, and I also say thank you for allowing Kelly to try to explain things to you a little bit. And I think that's a great idea, President Abbott, that we put a committee together to move forward with this, to try to work this out, because we are willing to do our part on our end. I also just want to make a comment that when the budget hearings were held, I think the decision to address this, and it does need to be addressed, was made based on numbers that we didn't know what the true numbers were at the time either. That one particular line item included not just overtime, but vacation time, comp time, and holiday pay all came out of that. And then after running reports and separating that out, it gave us a better understanding, and I don't know, I sent you those emails, but I think they were a little bit difficult to read, the way it jumbled them up, and I need to do a better job of getting that bill, to print those out to where you guys can understand those, because when I recently ran a report Monday, what we famously called Time Card Monday this past week, I ran that report again to see where we were at, and dispatch is only, and I say only, but dispatch was responsible for 25% of that overtime that we've been paying out. And the biggest part of that overtime is being consumed by the jail. And again, I've been working on things with Captain Ward back in the jail to try to do some things too. I've spoke to some of you guys about that. We talked about moving some money around from some of the open positions that we have that we haven't used to try to get some overtime. And we recently hired one last week. A former employee that left wanted to come back and work some overtime, so we're going to try to work that individual in a little bit here and there to try to chip away at that back in the jail as well. So I think that's a great idea to put a committee together, and like I said, we're willing to do our part moving forward to try to figure out how we can get a handle on this.
Well, I think they're all good options, and this is a good option as well. It's just something the council needs to decide which way we're going to set it for 26. But like I said before, I just don't think we can, I don't want to make a knee-jerk reaction that's going to cause issues with our retention early on. So that's why I thought maybe the committee, which, you know, I guess I might as well get that started. So if you guys are willing to be on that committee, get one of the guys from EMS as well.
Sign me up. I'm ready.
All right, so you guys will go in there, and I need 3 council people that are willing to work on it. All right, there you go. There's the 3, Brad, Andrew, and Todd. So we'll get that committee started, and we'll try to get, I know it's tough for you guys on meeting times, but I'll get with you and the MS gentleman and see when the best time would be, and we need to get that started right away. That way, you know, going forward, we can have people looking into this and look at other avenues that maybe we can take going down the road that's going to help us with these overtime issues. And I appreciate all the work that you've done trying to make that work out as well, and that may be a better option for us, you know. But those are the things that I feel like this come up pretty quick, you know, and I just don't want to cut all that out and then have a big problem with our retention, and I'm afraid that's what would happen if we cut it, you know, like we had talked about maybe doing. So that's something we just need to decide, and we'll go ahead and get this committee started and start working on it.
Well, I appreciate your insight, because you called it right down the middle, and that's exactly what's happening right now, so I appreciate you recognizing that.
Anybody got any other questions for Brent and them on their budget part too?
My part's not, I didn't mean to take up.
That's the reason why we're here this morning, to try to get this ironed out so that we can make a decision at that October meeting.
You know, and Kelly has done a great job doing his research. I kind of let Kelly take this by the horns and run with it. And he's done a really good job, and I don't have time to validate every single number that he comes up with and things, but I did have my jail lieutenant in my office 2 weeks ago. He came from Floyd County Sheriff's Department, where we've hired him from. His wife also works at Harrison County Sheriff's Department, so I asked him, I said, hey, where's your wife work at? He said, Harrison County Sheriff's Department. I said, what does she do there? She's a dispatcher. I said, what shift does she work there? He said, just exactly what we do here at Washington County. He said, and I can tell you that coming from Floyd County works the exact same shift we do here at Washington County. So it's really not uncommon for these dispatchers to work those 12-hour shifts and to work that 4 hours of overtime, because it's just something that is a common practice with emergency services, again, in lieu of hiring more people to do that. But again, that's something that, the committee can dig deeper into and find that information out. And again, we appreciate you guys' time today. Thank you, everybody, for being willing to listen to us.
Appreciate your hard work.
Mike, Tony, you guys want to come up? See if there's any questions there.
Well, pretty much, Bubba, you pretty much answered. Like I said, the packet we handed out to you guys previously had most of the numbers in there we could come up with. And I think that's a very good idea you brought forward with this committee thing. I mean, we'd be willing to participate in that to try to come up with a solution. But we're kind of, like I said, we're just kind of at a standpoint now of what we're going to be receiving for this next year's budget, and kind of go from that point on. Like I said, I do go ahead. I still want to just go ahead and just plan on removing that floater position for now, and go from that point on, and try to come up with a solution. Like I said, with this committee, I mean, I'm thinking we can possibly get some answers out of that if we can. Like I said, we've worked this and worked this and worked these numbers and worked these numbers till we're both cross-eyed. So it's kind of a solution of, what's going to happen down the road. So
I was late to the party, so what exactly are you wanting to do?
Have you lost 2 employees since?
Lost 2, but we've replaced them, and
I've already hired 2, yeah.
Okay.
So
they start this week. One started last week, one starts this week.
yeah.
So I think back in our last budget discussion, when we first talked with Tony and Mike from the EMS, we were going to allow that floater. So, but in talking to Tony, he said he didn't think that was really going to help, his overtime problem. So he was willing to cut that out, which would be, I think if I had it wrote down here correct, an EMT on that floater position would be around $74,000, and a paramedic would be somewhere around $93,000.
Yeah.
So if they do cut that out, we're going to save a little there that we had thought we were going to put in. But we need to determine if we want to, leave that overtime line there as presented.
They wanted option A.
Yeah. Thank you. Look back at your packet that they put together for us, what they had presented there was option A, was the one that we had looked. It was in the red folder that Mike passed out the last time. Basically, it shows there a total budget increase of 82,424.
Yeah, that's what my.
Take that floater out, that's what you'd be looking at. And that's stuff that, and that's stuff that we really can't, we have no control over on that was the raise for the employees, and that's also where we had to raise our other budgets because everything's going up.
Yes, Michelle did give you the paper too that shows where we're at right now as far as on the public safety budgets there. The top one, that fund 1151 is EMS line, which if you look at that, we had appropriated 186,686 last year. So to this point in the year, on the EMS one, they've used about 151 of that. Still have 35,000 left in that overtime budget to get through the rest of 25. Now keep in mind we've got some holidays, vacations. There's still some of that that's probably going to come out of there, but my point being, it's running about where they thought it was going to run there as far as what we appropriated for last year in 25.
Well, looking at the end of August, we ain't got September's numbers yet. We won't get them till today or tomorrow. We're looking August projected payroll budget being under $17,329. When it comes to payroll, I know in the ambulance board we've had these meetings before where you got to look at payroll as a whole, because of the makeup of our people. It's not like if we have a dump truck driver off, or we'll just use the county garage, whoever the highest paying job is there, or supervisor off, or a crane operator or whatever. You don't have the option of not having that person in there, and vice versa. We have to fill that spot, and we may have that crane operator working a truck to fill a shift if somebody calls in, and that position may be just an EMT position, because that's the only person we got. We don't have the option of downing that truck. So our payroll as a whole, you got to look at that as a whole. I know, like I said, we've brought this discussion up several times with the ambulance board. I think they all understand it, but you got to look at payroll as a whole, because those line items do fluctuate. I've even, for the last 5 years, and I know they keep saying they can't do it, payroll needs to be broke out as a line item by itself, not each one of them. I know you guys had the discussions on the overtime and all that, but you got to look at overtime as a whole. So overtime as a whole, your budget is $1,100,000 this year, $954, and at the end of the year we're looking at $1 million. Payroll as a whole being under budget. We've had people off this year. We've had 3 people off for injuries this year. We've had to fill in with whoever we can get. It could be a supervisor, it could be a paramedic for an EMT spot, it may be an advance for a paramedic spot. May even be me, may even be Tony. In that case, you get free gratis, but payroll as a whole, we're looking good on our numbers as payroll as a whole for the year end.
So what we're talking about is striking the floater and putting the 50,000 back in the overtime.
Option A.
Yeah, so that kind of breaks it all down.
It's paid for on the handout in the folder.
Running it with option A, and then, like I mentioned, we'll have the committee, we'll start working on that and seeing if, there's some way we can help everyone, and I just think that would be, the best road to take here moving forward. That's my personal opinion. Michelle and I talked about that too as well, so. What was that, Mike?
Like I said, I come late to the party. I know Tony tried to tell me a little bit, but he also come late to the party.
I think what he was talking about is forming a committee with 3 of us, all of you guys, and everybody putting their heads together in the moving forward in the future, and discussing things, you know, if you guys see ways to cut things, you know, save money, this and that, whatever, you know, discuss it more instead of making an instant, you know, cut to something. Is that?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was trying to say. But that would be following, you know, their option A package.
Right.
Which, you know, they made some cuts, and Mike did a lot of work on this as well, so. Yeah, well, I appreciate all you guys, you know, doing what you can do to help us, because, you know, every year it gets a little bit tougher, and we all know that, you know, the things that we're dealing with, you know, from the state, but I think moving forward, we're gonna have to get, you know, more creative, and hopefully that this committee will be able to do some things there that'll help all of us together to get it, you know, the best we can get it every year, so. Anybody else got any questions or comments about that? Yes.
How do you guys like that idea? Or?
The committee? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think committee's a good idea.
Yeah. Like I said, there's gonna have to be a lot of changes coming down the road, so
Yeah.
I think that would be a mighty fine idea.
Keeps everybody in the loop that way, and
Yeah, yeah, and that way everybody's
takes
informed.
assumptions away and stuff like that.
Because one thing you know, and this is one thing that I want to say, and I think there's been a lot of miscommunication sometimes that goes around, you know, and when this all got brought up through our budget discussions, through the hearings, you know, it wasn't in stone that we were going to take this overtime away. It was just something that we were looking at, and something I think we need to look at, you know, moving forward, because it has become a big part of that budget on public safety. And I don't think at any point in time we had ever made a decision to go ahead and take that away. And I think that rumor got around that we were definitely taking it away, and that wasn't the case. It was just in discussions, and these discussions have to, you know, we have to have these discussions, and I think the more information that we can get about it, and the more, you know, work that we do going forward, there again, we're going to be proactive with it, instead of reactive and just making a snap decision, and then that causing us problems with the things I was mentioning with retention and just being able to keep the public safety, you know, staffed, and that's what we want to do. And it's a hard enough problem for you guys, like we've all talked about it before, and just finding people, period, you know. So I'm afraid if we made that cut to that part of the budget, it would hurt us with that retention. So but at no point in time were we ever set in stone. These were just discussions that we were having to try to get our budget and do our due diligence to the taxpayer to try to set that budget. And those are things that we have to look at. But I think that was some false information that got around, that we were definitely cutting it, and that wasn't the case. So that's why we called this meeting. We wanted to talk a little bit more about it and try to put our heads together and come up with something. But I think at this point in time, that's our best option. And that's just my personal opinion. And I know we'll make that decision at the next meeting. But yeah, I think that may be the best way for us to go here moving forward.
I think your retention thing hits it on the head. That's going to be the biggest challenge you're going to have. Anything shy of what that is, going to the 2472, that would help bring people in. But it's also going to cost you, without looking at it, roughly $300,000 more to do away with the overtime to go to 24/72s. Will that help us? I think that would be a big step up for us. We want people to come to work for us like it used to be back in the day. That would be a big plus if we could afford it, but $300,000 more to add 4 more employees is, you're getting rid of overtime, but you're adding over the overhead in. So.
Well, and Michelle, this lady to my right, I tell you, without her, I would be lost, as you can tell. She keeps me on my toes, but we talked about it a lot too, and I think a lot of that idea to form that committee comes from Michelle as well, and I appreciate the work that she's done, because like I said, we've been slinging stuff against the wall ever since these discussions started. She's getting probably sick of me saying, here, run this number, or here, run these numbers, or look at it this way, or look at it that way. We've probably ran it a gazillion different ways at this point, but I think that's our best option moving forward. That's there again, my opinion. I appreciate you guys coming in. Thank you for.
Like I said, you guys can always come to the ambulance board meetings.
Yep.
Thursday, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, so
More than welcome.
they're early, but.
They are early.
They are early, but,
Usually have donuts, though.
They're always.
That's a good thing for a fat guy,
welcome.
but you gotta have donuts.
Our doors are always open if there's everything. We're kind of like Michelle, I'm glad her numbers is kind of matching up with what we're saying. So our doors is always open too. You want to throw something at the wall, see if it sticks? Come on down.
Yep.
We don't want to throw it in the back of the truck, the ambulances, because sometimes things do stick to the walls there.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Rick, did you have anything this morning?
Thank you.
You don't want to talk today? Usually you always talk. You're just here for the entertainment, huh? All right, gotcha. All right, let's see here. There was one other question I had, and Mr. Ewan might be able to help us with this, but with the and we need to know this moving forward before we get this budget set in stone. But my question was about the fairgrounds deal, Todd.
Yeah.
What exactly on that fairgrounds line are we looking to leave in that budget?
It's pretty simple.
Okay.
Did you pass those on down?
Yeah, hang on, I'm passing. He's got copies here. Pass those around. How do you want to
Yeah.
go over that then?
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
How everybody's got it?
The top part there was the expenditure previously. That's that 48,733 was all benefits, insurance, overtime, so on and so forth. Second line was the annual fuel cost, and that's just gasoline, not diesel. Which basically was the mowing aspect, so comes up to $50,533 total expenditure. Versus if we took the lowest bid of the three or four that we've received, be $21,000 a year. That's 35, not weeks necessarily, but 35 mowings, which should be more than adequate, keeping in consideration that there'll be a couple additional mowings, right before the fair to make sure the fairgrounds looks good before our county fair. And then proposing, we're in the process of rewriting the contract, should be ready next Tuesday, to make up the difference in the duties for the groundskeeper's position being eliminated. The Fair Board will assume all responsibility for taking care of the fairgrounds, less the mowing. County's contract, $21,000 would come out of the commissioner's budget, and then the $20,000 for the Fair Board to do as they see fit. They are the boots on the ground. They're the ones that they're the ones that knows what needs done up there. So that brings the total to $41,000. So if you subtract that off $50,533, you got a cost savings to Washington County of $9,533. They are going to take the remaining funds, if you use this $20,000 as our number for an annual payment, you got 3 months left in the year. We want to give them $5,000, which they're going to put toward, they've been working with Brent Miller, and they're going to plug into his camera system and going to add 6 additional cameras up there. And so they're going to turn right around and use the prorated amount that's left for the end of the year, which is $5,000, to do that. And it's all pretty well cut and dry.
Well, I appreciate that, because I think everybody was just, we weren't sure exactly how that was gonna shake out, so I appreciate you providing that information. Anybody have any questions for Todd on that then?
I have a question, Todd, for clarification.
Yeah.
On the Fair Board contracting funds, just for clarification, am I understanding that that is not to hire a person to do these jobs? That is for separate jobs contracted as they come up, as they see fit?
That's right.
So it's true elimination of the
Yes.
position?
Yeah, this is not, well, that's their call. They can take that $20,000 and hire whoever they please. But the idea here is this really makes more sense because obviously you councilmen and commissioners really have no business micromanaging the fairgrounds. It does belong to the county. Our goal is to see that the upgrades and the work and the upkeep gets done. That's the goal. Make sure it gets done and it looks nice. Necessary repairs are made when they need to be made, because you know how it is with even with your own home. If you let things go too long, a problem that would have cost $500 to fix, you let it go, it ends up costing much, much more. So that's the idea, is preventative maintenance, and let the Fair Board do their job and take care of the fairgrounds with our blessing, and give them the tools to do it. And I think it'll be a much better situation.
How are we going to explain, I'm not being smart, but how are we going to explain that it hasn't been upkept? Why? And you can't blame it on Randy. because he didn't have the tools. They wouldn't give him the equipment and paint. So how do you explain this?
Explain what again? I'm not following you.
Okay, there's buildings over there needed to be painted.
Yeah, that was his job.
Yeah, but they wouldn't give him the paint to do it with.
I don't know where you heard that at, but.
I was over there.
So,
And then
what are you really asking?
And then the floor joints, have you looked at those yet? Over there in that one building where the gravel was just pushed underneath there?
Yeah, sure, the band boards need replaced. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that there aren't repairs up there that need to be done, that should have been done. These little things, right now, they're fairly minor, and this is the whole point of, this just makes much more sense. They know what needs to be done. I'd say let them do it. And it will get done. It hasn't been getting done like it should. Everybody knows that, so this is a solution.
So you commissioners are gonna oversee the fair board then and make sure it gets done? Or the grounds?
We always have.
Yeah, is your question that they're gonna oversee the mowing contract? Is that what?
No, the upkeep.
The upkeep of the buildings?
Yeah.
I have all the confidence in the world in the fair board, if you give them the proper tools. I have no problem at all. Their work ethic, those people that volunteer for all these events up there, I'm not questioning their work ethic at all. It will get done.
I got a question. Is this up top of the 30,000 that we already give them? I'm sure that they want to know that too.
Yeah, both of these are separate from the 30,000.
Okay.
They're just the replacement for Randy, correct?
Correct.
That correct? Yes, that's what we were just sitting here looking at.
That $30,000 is what they've been receiving for,
Yeah.
I don't know, probably 40 years. Well, it's not always been 30. It's been 30,000 for a long time.
Would this be enough to sustain the repair that need to be?
If I had $1 million, I could think of things to repair up there. To answer your question, no.
Yeah, I agree.
So I guess we could start a GoFundMe page, but there's always things that need to be done. A lot of painting needs to be done. A lot of little things that could make the place look better. Keep the place from rotting down. This is very workable. This will help and make it better. Yeah, no problem.
Find that and we can talk at the fair.
I would encourage anybody and everybody, if they, don't take my word for it. If you want to know what's going on up there, talk to the fair board members, or better yet, talk to the dozens and dozens, there's probably 100 of them, volunteers over the years that donate their time to make that place what it is. We have a very good fair every year up there. People work very hard and trying to help. We get a lot of volunteers, and the next time you see one, you ought to thank them. Better yet, if you get a chance, I'm sure they'd be willing to accept some help from anybody else who would like to volunteer up there. Even if it's just a few hours, makes a big difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else on the council have any questions budget-wise?
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're gonna include that 4% raise to the Plan Commission Director as part of his salary.
That was.
I did not.
I know,
Oh,
that's
okay.
why I'm asking.
That's why you brought that up before.
Just because it's part of his salary.
Yeah.
Excuse me, what was that again?
The director position, that's part of Travis's
Right.
salary. It didn't receive the increase.
Oh, but you made that correction, right?
That's what we're discussing.
Not yet,
That's what we're discussing.
that's what,
Oh, why was it left out?
We've never done it on the stipends. We give the raise on their,
Oh, the other half,
Yes,
because his salary's split.
split.
Right.
yes, sir.
Oh,
Two
okay.
different.
Yeah, I see.
So one we did, but we did.
So he's getting 4% on portion of his salary.
A portion of it.
Yeah,
not-
I understand that, yeah. I think he knows that. You've never done that before. You've never given the raise on the stipend. Yeah, that's fine.
it's up to you
Yeah,
all.
it's up to the council, so that is something that's,
I just feel like since it's part of his salary,
I'm sure he would appreciate it.
that's my opinion.
yeah, it's whether or not we want to add that in there or not. But, when she runs these numbers, we need to know whether it needs to be on that.
Is that gonna be everybody with a,
I think it's only fair.
Yeah. So we'll run it then, so add that, so when we run these numbers with the new changes and putting the overtime and stuff back in, then.
Especially with the increase on insurance.
Yes, yeah. I agree. Okay. Anything else before we end this discussion and then have Michelle run these numbers for us for the October meeting so that we can get this budget put together and present it to the state? Preston, we'll just go around the room. Anything else?
No, I don't have anything.
No, sir.
That's all I had.
Bradley?
I'm good.
Okay. Michelle, do you have any questions? But I guess you probably need to know more than the rest of us.
no, I gave you a news article, Harrison County is reducing our portion of the riverboat, so from 2% to 1% is what we'll be receiving.
Wow.
Yeah, that was just something she had caught and wanted to make everybody aware, so.
Actually, someone actually turned me onto that article.
So that will be a
As of
decrease.
today, Harrison County still has not sent us anything telling us that, but
All right. I don't have anything else, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We'll get-
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Todd, second by Andrew. All those in favor, right hand. All right, meeting adjourned.